All right, so this is still patterns, but now we're into the patterns that we're more familiar with in fourth grade. It's adding or subtracting or multiplying to get to the next number. So now when we're given a line of numbers to look at, we actually need to figure out how did we get to that number. So if my pattern here is 16, 20, 24, 28, and then I've got 3 blank spots after it, I got to figure out what is my pattern. Now, when I'm looking for patterns, my very first place to look is at that 0. Because anything after a 0 shows how much was added to it. In this case, from 20 to 24, I added 4. Now I have to make sure that this rule, and I'm going to put an R equals, that this rule applies to everything. So is 16 plus 4 20? Yeah, it is. Is 24 plus 4 28? Yes, it is. So my rule is plus 4. What's 28 plus 4?
32.
What's 32 plus 4?
36.
What's 36 plus 4?
40.
If we keep doing this enough, we actually will see a pattern. Look, 6, 0, 4, 8, 2, 6, 0. Oh, I bet if I were to keep going, it would go 4, 8, 2 again. So you eventually will actually see just a repeating pattern going on. So the key into finding this stuff is to first find the rule. And the rule is basically you're asking yourself how many added or subtracted and then you got to make sure that it works for everything else. Sometimes it might work for one, but then not for another. So does the rule work for all numbers? And if it doesn't, that means you have to go back and start over again. Because remember, sometimes our rule is plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, plus 6. Or times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4. Or plus 1 times 2, plus 1 times 2. Sometimes those rules get weird. So you got to make sure that you're on top of that. So if I'm looking at number 1, and I see 11, 14, 17, 20, and then I've got 3 blank spaces after that. My first step, unfortunately, with my 0 being right here, I can't use this to figure out how many by looking at the next one. So I have to go for the next best thing. Well, I do know to get from 17 to 20, I can figure that out pretty quickly in my head. To get from 17 to 20, what am I having to add? 3. Is 11 plus 3 14? Yeah. Is 14 plus 3 17? So my rule here is plus 3. And now I can continue. 20 plus 3 is 23. 23 plus 3 is 26 plus 3 is. And I'm sure that if I were to keep on going here, I would get another pattern going. Right now it's 1, 4, 7, 0, 3, 6, 9. What's 29 plus 3?
32.
32. So my pattern would still be going. It might be a while, but it might start repeating. The 4s was a bit easier to see. All right, let's go with some even bigger numbers. Let's look at number 2. 48, 42, 36, 30, 24, blank spot, blank spot, blank spot. What is the very first thing that I notice? The very first thing that I notice.
That it's going down.
It's going down. It's not counting up. It's counting down, which means that I am subtracting. I can still use this 0 to help me. From 0 to 6,
It's plus a 6.
but I'm going down, so it's going to be, so from 36 to 30, it's minus 6. I can still use addition to help myself out here, though, guys. Is 24 plus 6 30? Yes, so that means 30 minus 6 would be 24. Is 36 plus 6 42?
Yeah.
Yes, so that means that 42 minus 6 would be 36. And is 48 minus 6 42? Yes. So I know my rule here is minus 6. And now I need to continue this next 3. So what's 24 minus 6? I can make it easy on my brain and go 4 and 2. 24 minus 4, and then 20 minus 2. What is it?
18.
18. What's 18 minus 6?
12.
What's 12 minus 6? 6.
6.
Eventually, I can't continue this pattern because it's going to run out.
Unless you go to the negative.
Okay, so now let's look at number 4. We've got a bit of a word problem here. Rudy is using add 2 as his rule to make a pattern. He started with 4 and wrote the numbers below for his pattern. Which number does not belong in this pattern? Explain. Okay, so I'm going to write down. I'm going to kind of go as he's going. So his rule is add 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. Plus 2 is
10.
10. So by keeping track and kind of going along with him, did you notice I had my finger touching the 4 as I wrote a 4? My finger touched the 6 as I wrote the 6. My finger touched the 8 as I wrote the 8. My finger touched the 9, but then I go, but 8 plus 2 is 10. So automatically, the 9 is what doesn't fit.
Okay.
The 10 is there, so the 10 is correct. So he got all the correct numbers. He just threw in one random one. So that's where they're trying to trick you, okay?
And I put the 9 in there.
So when you're doing this, when you're setting yourself up for this, you need to write down all the numbers. And then you need to give yourself the blank spaces like I did. Set yourself up. Write what the rule is in between and then write it off to the side as well. That's going to help you stay organized. I know it's a lot of work to write down all these numbers and it's a little annoying, but it's totally doable. It's just a little extra time, that's all. Sound good?